Oh, this is Claudio from Coheed Cambria, and I'm here in support of the tour that we are doing across Australia. So, yes, I'm here for that.
Beautiful, Claudia. Thanks for joining us, mate. I know you've just come off stage. The last thing you want to do is talk to someone in Australia, bro, but we appreciate your time.
And you know what, dude? I gotta tell you, I don't mind, Chris. Like I told them, I told Ernie and management, I was like, what's the difference? I'll do it after the show. It's not. I love this.
Mate, that
So
says more about you than what anything else you could say or do would, mate. Just the fact that you're willing to do that, bro. So well done.
hell yeah, man.
So Coheed and Cambria returned to Australia for the first time since 2016, with three shows headlining Monolith Festival in Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney this November, and two of your own shows in Adelaide and Hobart, mate. So first cab off the rank is, why the hell have you neglected us for so long? 8 years is a long time.
Well, I got to say, COVID was probably a big to do with it. And that's honestly, that's got to be about it. Just scheduling is like, it's not an easy thing, especially when like, touring and records and, like getting your bearings back together, certainly out of a catastrophe like that, it's hard, some things do get neglected, which is very unfortunate. But we're here now and we're very excited to return. I'm thrilled to be coming back to Australia. I'm psyched.
Nice. Now, we'll start with the Monolith Festival first, which will also feature Periphery, Leprous, Intervals, Novelists, and Silver Fang. Like, that's a pretty impressive lineup, mate. You got bands from all over the world in there.
Right, absolutely. And I think that's such a great thing, especially like coming out, it's a very progressive heavy thing, lineup. I think it definitely complements what we're gonna do out there, which is like celebrate the Good Apollo record. I'm thrilled. I think it's gonna be a nice, well-rounded situation. So
Yeah. I think one of the best things, especially from a punter's point of view, is that the whole show is going to have all the bands on one stage. There's no walking because I know I'm lazy, and B, there's going to be no scheduling conflicts with bands on different stages. So it's a good idea.
and I love that. I love that. I can't stand scheduling conflict. And that's one of the things that like I don't necessarily love about festival situations is that, you can't expect everyone to like go against others, it's never been something that's excited me when that's come about. So I think that's a great character of what we're about to do. It gives everybody their chance to showcase what they do to everyone that's participating in the show. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
so
Oh
on
yeah.
board for that.
Now, Monolith's going to be held in Brisbane on November the 2nd, Melbourne November the 9th, and Sydney November the 10th. But you're also playing Hobart on the 5th of November and Adelaide on the 7th, mate. So it's good to see you guys venturing outside of the capital cities to play for fans that might not get the chance normally. It's good on you.
Right. And I mean, I'm all about that. I mean, the more people we can get to see the band and the chance of fall in love with it, especially live. Live is I think where Coheed thrives. When I think of our records, yeah, our records are really great experiences and but I think what really sells us is, and always since day one was the live performance. Like why I'm so excited right now that we're supporting Incubus. It's like we don't really get this opportunity that much, and to put us in front of fresh faces, to do our thing and try to sell people on what we do. And I think that's really what's allowed us the longevity that we've had, is being put in front of new people. So something like this, it just really thrills me. And I think that also goes for the set that we're going to play. I think there might be some crossover with the bands that we're playing with, but I also think there's going to be new people like looking at all of us, and I'm thrilled about that. So
Yeah. Now, I'm only going to say this full name once, bro, because you guys don't make it easy when it comes to album titles. But for all the shows you're going to be playing, your third album, Good Apollo on Burning Star 4, Volume 1, From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness. Now, why focus on that particular album?
because it's going to be 20 years. It's going to be
Right.
20 years, that record this year. So that's why I think, we're doing it over here in the States for when we were young. We're doing it for Furnace Fest, and we figured, you know what, why not share it in Australia? A nice big return, come back, celebrate that record, do something unique for the
Mm.
fans out there. So yeah.
Yeah. And how is it like? Was it a difficult process to be able to translate that album to the stage? Like when you wrote it, I can't imagine you ever had one eye on that you're going to play the whole thing one day.
Right. And you're right. It is a hair daunting. But when we did the run, the Never Ender run, however many years ago, where we did 4 nights, 4 cities, and we did at the time we only had 4 records. We did second stage to No World for Tomorrow. That was like the seed. That was the thing that made us go, oh, we can do this. This is great. This stuff translates really well as an experience live. And we've always thought that way. I mean, when we curate our records, I mean, they're an experience. It's never about what the singles are, or is it just a collection of songs, and some of them are the flagships, and those are the things that we're trying to bait people into what we do. I mean, we curate our records as an experience, so they should work on the stage. You know what I mean? It's like it shouldn't be that foreign. And we realized that when we did that experience, back then, I can't remember when it was, maybe 2000 and some odd, but and then we do it ever since. We've done it ever since. We tribute records, whether it's in tours like we're about to do with Good Apollo, or or on the cruise ship, or whatever have you. I mean, it's something that we realize we can do, and it just takes rehearsing, and and the set lists are perfect because they're albums.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks,
Good
man.
Apollos, it's a hugely atmospheric and immersive album to listen to. So, how are you going to recreate that feeling on the live stage?
Like we do anything, really. We curate it to make sense for live. Whether it's like having aux musicians perform certain things, or we trigger samples and stems and things like that. But for the most part, like we'll do it like we do anything. And it usually works.
Yeah, cool. And you're going to be doing the hidden track that's included in the final cut on the album?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm not so sure we will, but we'll see. We have to talk about that. That's great.
Sorry if I call you off guard.
That's a great question.
Now, that album, Good Apollo, it's the band's most successful album out of all of them, bro. Like, why do you think people have resonated and gravitated to that particular album?
I think it's timing. I think at that moment in time, that's the band's first major label release. I mean, we're coming up with the movement in music that was happening at that time. We never found ourselves it was like tough for us to see ourselves included in the scene and then in the movement that was happening at the time. People call it the emo movement. When we came up, we were just a band, kind of odd, and the label that we were on thought, you know what, you have some of these tendencies. We should put you out with like Thursday, or we should put you out with this band or that band, and we definitely gelled really well. But when the second record came out, you could really kind of get a sense of like, oh, this band is a little different. It's not as obvious as maybe some of the others. So I think it was just the product of timing, because now major labels were like clamoring to get all of the bands that they thought fell into that category, and we kind of got swept up with that. So we had the big machine behind us when Good Apollo came out, and yeah, we may have had some songs on that record that may have like stood out, but it was just a product of the time. I think, because when I listen to some of our more recent records, I find them as almost more listener friendly than they've ever been. And I get it. I mean, I'm supposed to say that because I'm the guy that's writing tunes, but I just watch. You can see it when you
Yeah,
see
right.
Coheed play in front of these like the new audiences. I mean, some of the songs like Shoulders and Liars Club and Disappearing Act off of A Window of the Waking Mind get almost a better reception than some of those songs that are 20 years old, which is like exciting for us because we have so much history behind us. typically a band in our situation like that, you would think like, oh, people just want to hear
Old stuff, yeah.
nostalgic tunes, but like the newer tunes are getting a better reception because I honestly just think they're better songs. I mean, I think we've learned as, just I've learned to get my message across in a way that's a little more coherent and broader for more people. Whereas, 20 years ago, I was just confused and still learning how to be, the front man. I was still learning how to be the guy that was delivering the message to a broad audience. And you know what? That message was really just catered to me. And might be a little jarring and perplexing for somebody outside to understand, but to me, it's like makes perfect sense. Does that make any sense?
That makes perfect sense, brother. Perfect sense. Now, as part of Monolith Festival, there's also going to be a special Q&A section focusing on your series of graphic novels and comics called Celebrating 20 Years of Amory Wars, the Past, Present, and Future. Now, tell us about that, man. That sounds like it'd be pretty cool.
For me, it's like that's just a part of what I do, right? I mean, I created the Amory Wars when I created Coheed Cambria, and I did that because, like I said, I just had a hard time being the front man, so it was easy for me to construct this elaborate piece of fiction that I could hide my stories in. I mean, every record to me is a chronicle of my life. I know what they truly mean, what they stand for. And the comics were just a way for me to feel comfortable about sharing that with the world. And so over time, it's just made it much more important to the overall message of Coheed. And it's fun for me to talk about that stuff because, I do all the Comic Cons here in the States, whether it's San Diego, New York, C2E2 in Chicago, Emerald City in Seattle. That's just an important subsection of my art that I like to talk about because it's fun for me to like express like what certain things in the fiction are connected to the things in my real life. So it's cool to like kind of pull back that curtain and share that with the fans that are totally invested in everything Coheed.
Yeah. But when you sat down to write that first one, which was the Bag Online Adventures, the second stage Turbine Blade, back in 2004, man, like, did you ever think you'd still be writing these comics 20 years later?
That's great. I mean, I knew, when I first started this, I always thought, I thought in the world of Star Wars. I was like, oh, it's going to be a trilogy. It'll be 3 parts, yada, yada, yada. So to me, In Keeping Secrets was going to always be like the end. It was like that was going to be the end. We were going to go back. We were going to tell the origin story of the characters, and it was going to be 3. But I realized, when writing In Keeping Secrets, there was no conclusion. And that's why the Good Apollo stories got cut in 2, because I thought, you know what? I need to have two stories to set it up, one to set it up and one to like, conclude. So that's why there's 2 Good Apollos. But when I finished that and we went back and we did Year of the Black Rainbow, and I just found that to me, the concept is it's just become a big part of what I do, regardless, as much as I've become comfortable with myself as a storyteller or as a front man and letting people in to what the stories are really about. I mean, The Color Before the Sun, I think, is a good example of that. I also just really loved creating fiction. I found that was something I was thrilled about. All these stories are very personal and mean something to me, but why not go that extra mile and create a puzzle, create something that's, that can come off of the record and walk around in somebody's imagination. I just find it so thrilling to me and why I still do it,
So in many ways, the comics and the albums connect with each other. But just say someone's come along to Monolith and they're new to Coheed Cambria, like, would you suggest they listen to the album first and then read the comics, or read the comics and then listen to the album?
I would say, honestly, it's entirely up to whoever. Like, again, the records aren't you don't necessarily need the concepts to or the comics to understand the records or find something that resonates with you personally. You know, I think there's a lot of themes that, like I said, these are all journal entries in my life. You
Right.
know, Second Stage Turbine Blade, that first record, Second Stage Turbine Blade, that actual title is actually taken from the factory part that my father worked on at a blue collar job called Chromaloy. Like they would do airplane parts, they would heat
Right.
treat airplane parts, and one of them was the Second Stage Turbine Blade. So it's like it sounds very science fiction, but it's actually very real. It's really just kind of the thing that put food on the plates of my adolescent life, and that's what that record is truly about. It's just a confused teenager, a confused adolescent, like trying to figure out how to express himself through music. And so I think you can listen to the records and never know that there was a concept,
Right.
you know. But if you like, I've had tons of people come to me at Comic Cons and not realize that the comics were connected to an album. So it's entirely up to whoever how they digest this. Because I think it's multifaceted and very ambiguous, and it's really depends on the person coming to it.
Before we let you go, mate, I've started a new segment called Photo Bomb with Heavy, where I've gone through the internet and found photos of bands, and then I'm just going to chuck them up on the screen and get you to give us a bit of an explanation on them. So the first one is this one. You're looking very guilty there, bro. Who are you looking at and what's going on?
I'm looking at you know what? I have no idea who I'm looking at. That's so old. That drum set is old. I think I'm just
You're either about to pray or you're saying, please don't throw that at me.
if anything, I look innocent.
You do.
I look pretty good in that picture.
Okay, the next one is this. Like, I know musicians love their instruments, bro, but that's taken it a bit far.
Yeah, so check this out. When I was a kid, we did a record. I mean, I was like 12, 13 years old. We went to a friend's this fella's house and we did a record, and he taught me that pickups were microphonic. And he was like, they're basically microphones inside your guitar, and you can sing into them, you can put things to them. And so ever since I was 12 years old, I was doing that because of this fella by the name of Richie Steele. Taught me a couple of things back then that I still use to this day that I thought were really cool tricks, just things that like I thought were a lot of fun. And, being a vocalist and using the guitar, because the guitar really, to me, is like, it's the catalyst for my voice. Like I was always a guitar player, but it allowed me the courage to become a singer and to then use that thing that did that for me to then sing into. I thought was as I look at it in hindsight, I definitely wasn't thinking that way as 12, 13 years old, but like now as a 40-year-old man, in my 40s, I'm like, it's such a cool thing. Like I cherish the guitar as much as I'm not like a virtuoso or whatever have you. It's really allowed me to discover my voice. And if there's any way I can incorporate my voice into it, it's there in that picture.
Very good. All right, Claudio, we'll let you go and have a shower, mate, and a beer with your bandmates, bro. But thanks very much for your time. Coheed Cambria will be in Australia from November the 2nd. I'll be at the Brisbane show, bro, so I'll come along and have a beer.
Oh, yeah, please come do that, Chris. Absolutely.